You wore that to this party? The words sliced through the chatter like a blade. My sister-in-law, Clarissa, tilted her wine glass and smirked, her voice loud enough to catch the attention of half the guests near the ballroom entrance. Eyes turned. Faces tilted. Laughter followed. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos? And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest, tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. I felt the weight of judgment before I even stepped fully inside. My pale blue satin dress suddenly felt too modest, too simple, like a mistake in a sea of designer sequins and spray-tan perfection. Still, I held my posture. Clarissa leaned toward the event photographer, a young man barely old enough to drink legally, and whispered something behind her hand. He gave an awkward laugh. Then she said it aloud. Crop her out. Better yet, delete her from the family album entirely. Gasps turned into murmurs. One woman giggled. Another guest raised her phone discreetly, capturing the moment as entertainment for later gossip. I was standing barely 4 feet away, close enough to hear every word, just far enough to make it seem like I wasn't worth directly addressing. I stepped into the frame calmly, locked eyes with the photographer, and said, "Keep those pictures safe." That's all I said. No raised voice. No tears. Just those 5 words, slow and sharp as polished glass. Clarissa scoffed and waved her French manicured hand at me like I was a puff of smoke ruining her airspace. God, it's embarrassing you even showed up. What are you, his charity case? He doesn't even love you. He's probably ashamed. She turned to the guests behind her. She's not even really part of the family. I could hear a few chuckles behind my back. I recognized some of the faces. My husband's cousins, friends of his siblings, old money dressed in new arrogance. And yet I didn't move, because I knew something no one else did. 10 minutes later, a valet flung open the gold-engraved doors at the front of the ballroom. The wind gusted through. The music faltered. A tall man stepped in, broad-shouldered, tailored in custom navy blue, and carrying the kind of presence that made rooms pause. Some women instinctively stood straighter. Some men nodded in recognition, some in envy. Nathan Chandler. My husband. Not many in the room had actually met him. He wasn't the type to attend family dinners or post online. He didn't need to be seen. He was the kind of man who made things happen quietly, the kind of man Clarissa once said was too cold and too old for me. He walked toward me, eyes only on mine, and as he reached me, he pressed a kiss to my forehead and whispered, "Sorry I'm late. Traffic was hell." Then, he turned toward Clarissa and the entire crowd and dropped the words that froze the air. "By the way, I just closed the deal this morning. We now own this entire venue. Every square foot." Silence. Then absolute stillness. Clarissa blinked twice. What do you mean own?" Nathan let the word hang for a moment, then turned to the photographer, who was now sweating. "You're still taking pictures, right?" Nathan asked, voice smooth. "Good. Make sure my wife's in every shot. She's the reason I bought this place." Gasps. Stunned glances. One of Clarissa's friends dropped her glass. Clarissa's face had gone stiff with shock. Her lips twitched, searching for something clever to say, but her tongue had finally caught up to her spite. I looked around. Nobody was laughing now. Clarissa didn't say a word. Not at first. Her manicured hand trembled slightly as she reached for her glass, trying to recover from the public slap Nathan had just delivered, with nothing but his calm presence and a few precisely chosen words. She forced a smile. "You bought the venue? That's impressive. I didn't realize this place was for sale." Nathan didn't even look at her. He kept his arm around me, the way you do when you want the world to know exactly who you're standing beside. It wasn't. But the right offer always changes minds. People had started to pretend they weren't listening, but the silence betrayed their interest. Even the waiters had stopped moving. I could feel Clarissa's pride twisting into something uglier by the second. She wasn't used to being embarrassed, especially not by someone like me. Because to Clarissa and the rest of Nathan's hybrid family, I was the nobody, the waitress, the scholarship girl, the one who didn't belong. She had said it outright years ago. She's temporary. She won't last. She tried to recover now. Well, of course. We're all family. Just a little teasing. You know how I am. I didn't respond. Nathan didn't either. He simply turned and guided me toward the center of the ballroom like we'd just stepped into our own private celebration. Heads turned. Some people tried smiling. Others looked away. But I didn't forget. Later that night, as the orchestra played and the champagne kept flowing, Clarissa cornered me near the back balcony, away from the guests. "You think this makes you one of us now?" she hissed, her smile gone. "A dress, a ring, and a building?" I met her gaze head-on. "No. I think it just reminded everyone exactly who I am." Clarissa narrowed her eyes. "You have no idea what you're stepping into. You don't know this family. You don't know me." "Oh, I do," I said softly. "And I'm not here to fit into your family, Clarissa. I'm here to build my own." She laughed, bitter and small. "Please. You think Nathan's going to protect you forever? You think you're untouchable now?" "No," I said, leaning in just enough. "I think I'm no longer afraid." That shook her more than anything. Because fear had been the currency Clarissa always traded in. Backhanded compliments. Public humiliation. Group chats I wasn't invited to. Family photos she'd accidentally leave me out of. And until recently, I had been afraid. Afraid I wasn't enough. Afraid Nathan would get tired of defending me. Afraid I was just a placeholder in his life until someone more suitable came along. But Nathan changed that. Not just with money. With consistency. With honesty. With the kind of patience that made me believe I could breathe again. What Clarissa didn't know, what none of them knew, was that the dress she mocked tonight was the one I'd worn when I signed the contract for my first company. The deal Nathan had brokered for me in secret, because he knew I was ready before I did. But this wasn't just about one party. Or one dress. Or even one cruel sister-in-law. It was about everything they thought I wasn't. And the truth they were about to learn piece by piece. Because that venue? It wasn't just a purchase. It was the beginning of our plan. By the next morning, the pictures were everywhere. On Facebook, on private Instagram stories, even slipped discreetly into the group chat Clarissa thought I didn't know about, the one named Real Chandler's only. But this time I wasn't cropped out. I was centered. And next to me, Nathan, his hand resting firmly on my back, his smile faint but unmistakable, like he knew the storm was coming and didn't mind standing in the middle of it. Clarissa tried to damage control fast. She posted a filtered selfie, captioned it with some passive-aggressive fluff. "So lucky to be surrounded by real family, 2 hearts last night was magical." The comments were polite. Vague. But no one cared about her post. Because mine had already gone viral within the social circle. Unintentionally. I'd only uploaded one photo, just one. A candid shot the photographer had captured right after Nathan's announcement. The lighting was warm. My eyes were still glassy, with disbelief. And he was looking at me like I was the only person that mattered in the entire city. My caption? They told me to keep the pictures safe. So I did. No hashtags. No anger. Just that. The silence afterward? Deafening. But the part no one knew yet? This was just the first phase. Because what Clarissa didn't know, what none of them had bothered to ask, is that I wasn't just Nathan's wife. I was also his business partner now. Silent, yes. But not invisible. Nathan didn't marry me to polish his image. He married me because I understood him. I'd been with him when he had nothing but plans. When he wore a $40 watch and was fighting a lawsuit from his ex-investor. When his own family had whispered that he was too risky. Clarissa used to joke I was a pretty support animal. She didn't know I was the one who rebuilt Nathan's books from scratch. Who found the leak in his chain of suppliers. Who discovered the CFO was laundering money through shell accounts with fake vendor names, Clarissa's name among them. Yep. Her name. Clarissa Jameson Events and Designs. A company that didn't exist on paper. No website. No phone number. No staff. Just monthly payments being siphoned from Nathan's logistics division. And here's the part that made my blood run cold when I found it. She'd been doing it for over a year. That whole time, she'd been calling me just a wife behind my back. But she didn't know. I watched everything. I had access. Nathan gave it to me months ago when he said, "I trust you more than I trust anyone with my name." I hadn't gone looking for dirt, but once I found it, I didn't stop. And now, it was time. We didn't strike immediately. You don't walk into a lion's den with a loud voice. You do it quietly, dressed in silk. So the next family function was at Clarissa's estate. A brunch she hosted with forced elegance and sugary smiles. She greeted me at the door in white linen and oversized pearls. "You look braver than usual," she said as she air-kissed my cheek. "And you look expensive," I replied. "Is that from the event planning money or the offshore account?" She blinked. Just once. But I saw it. That moment when someone realizes you're not the same person they thought they had in a corner. "Let's not make a scene," she muttered under her breath. I leaned in gently. "Clarissa, sweetheart, I'm not here to make a scene." I smiled. "I'm here to end one." It began subtly. A quiet email, a scheduled audit, a standard compliance check that Clarissa brushed off with a flip of her hair and a lie through her bleached teeth. She didn't know that the auditor wasn't just any consultant. He was someone Nathan had hired personally. A forensic accountant with a specialty in exposing executive fraud. We didn't need the law yet. We needed leverage. And we got it. Fast. Because within 72 hours, Clarissa's fake company, Jameson Events and Designs, was fully traced. Shell transactions. Duplicate invoices. Money rerouted to private accounts under her name and a second one, her assistant's, who flipped the moment we showed her the statements. And guess what the assistant said? She told me no one would ever notice. Said Nathan never looked past the big numbers. Well, I did. I looked very closely. So, at the next dinner, Nathan's father's birthday, a big affair with a garden tent, champagne, and string quartets, we arrived fashionably late. But this time it was on purpose. Clarissa was already playing hostess, laughing, controlling the narrative, positioning herself as the queen bee again, until I walked in with a slim leather folder in my hand. Nathan stayed silent. I approached the table. Everyone turned. The string music faded behind me like the soundtrack to a film about to change tone. I placed the folder gently in front of Clarissa's plate. "What's this?" she asked, lifting her wine. I leaned in. "A breakdown of every dollar you stole from the Chandler family business." The silence hit harder than I expected. Her fingers stiffened. "Excuse me?" I turned to Nathan's father, Robert Chandler. He'd never liked me much. Always too formal. Too focused on bloodlines. I looked him dead in the eye. "Sir, you may want to see this. It includes your name on documents you never signed, for vendors you never approved." Robert looked between me and Clarissa, then opened the folder. The second his brow furrowed, I knew. We had her. This is fake," Clarissa stammered. "She's lying. She's jealous. This is what she does. She makes herself the victim." "She never said a word," Nathan interrupted sharply. "Not once. I kept this quiet. I gave you a chance to come clean. You didn't. So now we're doing it this way." Clarissa tried to laugh again, but her voice cracked. "You believe her over your own family?" "She is my family," Nathan said, voice colder than I'd ever heard it. "And she's the only reason I didn't file charges." Yet. Gasps. Actual gasps. Clarissa's mouth parted, but nothing came out. Robert set down the folder. "Is this true?" Clarissa looked for help. From her husband, her sisters, her mother. No one moved. Because you can bully people into silence, but only for so long. Eventually, they smell the blood. And this time, it was hers. She left in disgrace. That night, after the guests had scattered like scared birds, Nathan and I stood on the back patio of the estate, the stars silent above us. "You handled that better than I ever could," he said. I smiled. I didn't want revenge. I wanted the truth to speak louder than her laughter. He turned to me, his voice soft. "You know, I never said it before, But the day you walked into that party wearing that simple blue dress, I knew exactly who you were. Who? I asked. He kissed my hand. The future of this family. The fallout from that night hit like a silent explosion. Clarissa didn't return home. Not to her estate. Not to her office. Not even to the group chats she once dominated with condescending gifs and fake sweet memes. Her social media went dark within 12 hours. Her name quietly disappeared from event planning committees, charity boards, and brand collaborations that once fought to have her face on their banners. No official statements. No apologies. Just a disappearing act, like she'd vanished into the fabric of a scandal that was never supposed to happen. But I didn't celebrate, because it wasn't about her downfall. It was about reclaiming the dignity they tried to take from me. The version of me they painted in whispers. She's nothing but a gold digger. She married up. She won't last. I buried her that night. Not with spite, but with proof. With truth. With a strength I didn't even know I had until they forced me to find it. 3 weeks later, the Chandler Foundation held its annual gala. This time at the same venue Clarissa once tried to erase me from. Only now, I was the one signing the checks. Every detail of the event had passed through my hands. The guest list, the vendor contracts, the theme. I'd chosen a minimalist white and gold color scheme.
Clean. Pure.
Reclaimed. I wore a deep emerald velvet dress that hugged my waist and pulled slightly at the floor. Not too flashy. Not loud. Just powerful. As I stepped onto the ballroom floor that evening, silence fell. Not because I demanded it, but because people noticed now. And not just because of Nathan. Because of me. Because I had a name now. A reputation that wasn't borrowed from my husband. I was no longer the nobody sister-in-law they tried to crop out. I was the one writing the future. A woman approached me after the speeches ended. Her name was Marianne. She was older, maybe in her late 50s, with eyes that had seen too much and lips that stayed pursed like she was still measuring trust. I used to work for Clarissa, she said quietly. I tensed but nodded. Okay. She told us to treat you like you didn't belong, she said. Like you were just passing through. We listened. And I'm ashamed of that. Her voice cracked. I just wanted you to know, people see you now. Really see you. And I'm sorry it took this long. I smiled, not out of satisfaction, but something deeper. A quiet peace I hadn't felt in years. Thank you, I said gently. But I don't need everyone to see me. I just needed me to see me. And that was the truth. Back at home that night, I slipped off my heels and walked barefoot through the marble hallway Nathan and I had renovated together. The hallway I used to walk down feeling like a guest in my own life. Now it felt like mine. Nathan was waiting in the living room, a glass of wine in his hand, his tie loosened. I watched you from across the room tonight, he said. You didn't even look nervous. I wasn't, I replied. For the first time, I wasn't scared of being erased. He stood up, crossed to me slowly, and cupped my face. They tried to crop you out, he whispered. But you became the whole picture. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't mean something, but because the woman I used to be, the one who needed their approval, their permission, their space, she was gone. And in her place stood someone stronger. Not louder. Not crueler. Just unshakably whole. 6 months later, Clarissa reappeared. Quietly. Carefully. A puff-piece article in a regional magazine. Taking time for myself. No mention of the scandal. No apology. Just glossy, airbrush lies. But people didn't believe her anymore. Because once a mask slips, no amount of retouching can put it back on. She walked past me at a fashion charity show later that year. I caught her glance. For a split second, she opened her mouth like she might say something, maybe to hurt, maybe to heal. I gave her a soft smile first. Then I turned back to the microphone, where I'd just been introduced as the keynote speaker. The applause drowned her out. Not because I silenced her, but because she no longer had the power to silence me.